So we're coming to the end of the tour now, and I'm with Michael McCarthy and Michael Rafferty just to sort of talk about how things have been going over the last few weeks. So what's it been like while you've been on tour?
Well, I think it's working. It's working really, really well. I mean, it's fabulous to have really big audiences, theatres that are selling out. That's wonderful. But most importantly, the piece is really speaking.
We knew it was a great piece on the first night, but then with a run of performances over a relatively short period of time, sometimes our tours are much longer than this, each one develops over the previous night, and it's something that only really happens in performance. We could have rehearsed for another 2 or 3 weeks, and it doesn't bring that extra thing that performing to the public brings.
I think there are 2 things around that. One is that the performers themselves discover how to do the work and discover their roles and discover the flow of it and all the rest of it. But actually, we as a whole company are now much more embedded in the piece itself, and we're discovering, we're enabling the piece to come to life. And I'm a great believer on these tours that the pieces themselves also somehow or other find how to exist because of the way that we work with them. Yeah. And there are things that we talk about after performances. We say, that moment's not quite right. We're fine-tuning all the time, and then when you get it right, suddenly there's so much more to be had out of it. And I love this process of allowing new works to breathe.
We have 4 weeks rehearsal, 4 weeks, 5 weeks rehearsal with a piano, and actually there's only 3.5 days with the ensemble for the singers to discover the piece with the orchestra, and also obviously the piece is conceived orchestrally, and no matter how much obviously it's my job to imagine the orchestration, but the singers only work with a vocal score, so that and a piano is a great rehearsal tool. But right from the start, Philip and Michael and everybody was talking about the humour in the piece, and there's a whole layer of humour which is brought about with the orchestration, and the piano you don't get that, particularly the trombone, which is could be bass trombone, a really funny instrument, as well as providing these great dark sonorities. All sorts of subtle details which which have an effect on the whole piece, but also the singers only hear that in those 3 days, and can start working with that each performance.
Well, likewise, the orchestral players only hear the singers, and then they only start to discover, once they're able to really play the piece and know how it works, you see them now watching the stage as much as they possibly can, because they start to enjoy that as well.
With the limby, it was quite a low pitch, so they couldn't see too much. Actually, probably the best one was Basingstoke, the last performance, where there's hardly any difference in level between the stage and the pit. It's just actually stopping the instruments from looking at the stage, and frequently when we, not just this production but the previous one, they say, oh right, now I understand why I'm doing that, and then can work on that to improve it or change it.
Yeah, so it's quite strange that the ensemble never get to properly sit down and watch the performance, because they've always got to be a part of it.
It's true. So they never really get to understand the opera completely as an audience member would. And that would be, there were so many things that would be lovely to do. It would be lovely to be able to perform it for the ensemble. It would be lovely to be able to rehearse more with the ensemble. Things like that would make an enormous difference. We don't have an opportunity to do that. So bit by bit they pick it up, and also all of our musicians are absolutely committed to this kind of work, new chamber opera, and they do it because they love feeling part of a bigger experience.
And has the opera been well received, do you think, on tour in general? Have you seen different receptions at different places?
It's been incredibly well received everywhere, and there's a dynamic that you only get with full houses, and this piece the majority of the performances have been sold out.
The audience dynamic thing is a really interesting thing, because every audience is different, and you as performers, I'm not on stage, I'm watching, you as performers feel a different relationship to every single audience. It's so clear when the singers are coming off stage, they talk about them in the interval, and they talk about what they're getting back, and there's always a shift after the interval, when the audience has had a chance to check with each other, did you find that bit funny? You know, what's going on here? And they come back in a little bit more confident, perhaps. As well as the piece developing, the audience develops with it. But some nights people are much more inclined to enjoy the humour, and at other nights you think they're not getting it at all, but they're working really hard, they're concentrating really hard, and you can tell that because of the way the reception is at the end. So it's a really interesting thing, and you cannot predict it.
You can't predict it, no, you can't predict it at all.
Okay, and what's next for the opera? So this isn't the end of it touring, it's almost the end of the UK tour, but then it goes to other places.
Yeah, it absolutely does, yes. We've been able to commission and produce this work with support from co-commissioners and co-producers. So we have Theatre Magdeburg in Germany, where this will be produced, the same production, but a different cast, except for Johnny Herford, who's going to do Joseph K, which is fantastic, because he's perfect for the role. And then it goes to Scottish Opera, who will perform it up there in January 2017. And, you know, I think this show should have a future, with or without, you know, maybe Music Theatre Wales could do it again, which would be very interesting, or maybe we have to find other ways to do it. The one thing we would love to do is this production should be seen in America. This is an important work by an American composer created by a Welsh company here in the UK. It's a huge success. We have 5-star reviews. We know that this is good work, and we want to show audiences in America that this kind of stuff is happening here. And there's not so much chamber opera like this happening in America yet. And it is the future of opera. You can't keep playing in 3,000-seater houses. You have to think about other ways of doing it. And I think we've got the answer.
And it's been fantastic being able to share the opportunity with everyone online, hasn't it?
We've really enjoyed sharing the process of creating the work with a larger audience than we've ever done before.
Yeah, this is something new for us, and I think we'll definitely be doing it in the future.
So there you have it. If you didn't catch the trial on this tour, you've got a few opportunities in the future.